morning so far about the activities that have been going on and the plans for the programme going forward. So I think it's time for a bit of feedback. And so I'm pleased to say that we've invited representatives from around the region to share their initial impressions on the programme and speak of possible synergies between the programme and their own organisations' plans and priorities. We've asked each of the speakers each of the panelists 2 questions, which I'll talk through in a minute. But first, let me just introduce our panelists, and then I'll go to each of them in turn. So we're very pleased to be joined this morning by Ms. Hadika Jamshed, Climate Change Policy Specialist at the Ministry of Climate Change, Pakistan. We also have Mr. Tapai Sutsumi, Director of the Office of International Cooperation in the Air and Water Quality Management at the Ministry of the Environment, Japan. We also have Mr. Jostein Nygaard, Senior Environmental Specialist at the World Bank. And then last but not least, we have Dr. Erik Zuzman, Research Director in the Centre for Sustainability Governance at the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. And obviously many thanks to Erik for stepping in at the last minute after one of our other panelists was unable to join. So let me start first with Hadika, if that's okay. I'd like to really just ask for your impressions on the programme and how ADB developing member countries may benefit from it. So obviously your impressions, but also recognising that ADB supported your ministry in updating the Pakistan Clean Air Programme just recently. And so how important it is for the programme to provide similar policy and technical support to ADB developing member countries. And I guess this ties in with one of the questions we just had through the Q&A about what are the benefits and how do we actually ensure that and help DMCs to take action. So Hadika, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And firstly, I just want to congratulate ADB and CCAC and all the participants today for this program. And coming to your question about Pakistan, I think we have developed a Pakistan Clean Air Program with the support of ADB. Where we are just finalizing that at the stage of finalizing, and air pollution being one of the major priorities for Pakistan, and not just because of the health impacts and the death rate increasing over the years because of air pollution, but also because of the economic losses we are incurring because of air pollution. So it's one of the significant priority, and Pakistan being one of the top 10 most vulnerable country when it comes to climate change. So it goes hand in hand, and we have also worked with Clean Air Asia on climate change, short-lived air pollutants, and how to mitigate that and how to deal with them together with climate change. So a lot of groundwork has been done with the Pakistan Clean Air Program and with the work we have done on short-lived climate pollutants. I believe that this program came at the right time, to be honest. We are just about to launch the Pakistan Clean Air Program, and we have a bunch of activities identified and objectives identified. We know the vision, how we plan to go forward, and this and for any plan to go forward, it's very important that you have consistency, you have continuity of the work you have done before. So ADB supporting us in developing the plan, Clean Air Asia supporting us with Stockholm Institute developing, a plan and how to deal with short-lived climate pollutants. I think this program will be helping us towards the implementation of it. And we have done most of the readiness phase of the work, but now it's time for the operational phase. And that's where this program, I think, will play a very significant role. And I'm really looking forward to it, how we are going to be part of this, how Pakistan can, take this advantage and take the expertise of everyone involved in this program to move forward towards the implementation of all the objectives. And but I do believe that not just the implementation operational, but we will require some policy and technical related support as well, because this is the time when as I said, some of the work has been done, the groundwork, but there's still some activities and projects and implementations from the government side which need technical support and policy related support. Pakistan has been involved quite actively in these issues. We have signed the methane pledge recently. We are taking carbon pricing very seriously right now. We are planning to move towards the implementation of it. We have introduced the zigzag technology in the bricklane sector, the climate smart agriculture project, and introduction of EVs, which will be directly and indirectly related to what we are doing under Clean Air program as well. So all these efforts by Ministry of Climate Change will need support from this program to make it operational. So that's where we will require some policy support as well, from some kind of technical support as well. And also we are focusing on enhancing the public-private partnership, taking these all issue forward. That's where the support will be required. So I'm really excited. I'm really happy to see this. I'm apologies for not being part of this physically due to some personal reason, but I do believe that with this program we will be doing much great work. And I'm already like the work Karma and Glinda and all these people have been working with MOCC, so they are quite aligned with us and they really know the issues well. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adhika. And thank you for joining us. I appreciate it was challenging with travel. I think there's a couple of really good points there, and I think, as you say, it's very timely considering where Pakistan is with the Clean Air program, but also with, as you say, many of the actions on the climate side. So it's really ensuring that the PCAP is sort of aligned with your climate ambitions as well. And I think clearly there's a really great framework in place now to take forward and implement, as you say. And yeah, we're looking forward to hopefully being able to support some of those actions with the actual implementation and being taken forward. So thank you very much for sharing your experiences. So I'd like to move on next to Director Tsutsumi-san on the potential collaboration between MOEJ, so the Ministry of Environment Japan, and ADB. Obviously, welcome your views and impressions of the Asia Clean Blue Skies program, but also recognizing, as Karma said, that the first phase of the program is being financed by the JFJCM. Whilst this is a funding mechanism contributed by the government of Japan, do you see other opportunities for collaboration between MOEJ and ADB under the program? So over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Excuse me for joining this session from Japan. Fortunately, I safely traveled from Korea.
Made it back anyway.
Thank you very much. We managed to escape the typhoon. But anyway, and also I would like to celebrate ADB to launch the Asian Clean in Blue Skies program. And also, I would like to appreciate and thank you for cooperation with JCM, which is our Japanese government's very important policy. And I feel my first impression is that it's very exciting, and also would be contributing a lot to decarbonization for the world, and also to our Japanese carbon neutrality targets by 2050. Because as you may know, that we have target for the 2050. We will achieve the carbon neutral society using several policy measures, including the GCM, and we will need to increase the emission reductions by JCM to 100 million CO2 tons by 2030, which is the current emission reduction target, which is far from the current achievement, which is just 19 million. So we need to increase so much, and we feel that the Asia Clean Blue Sky program will have that achievement as well. And I believe that we will do that, because when I see the components, the planning of policies and capacity building, and finally help implementation, like the examples of Philippines and India to modernize transportation. I see we will have a tangible emission reductions in terms of CO2 emissions, as well as air pollutants as well. Then as for the second question, it will be ENS project will be the possible collaboration with ADB, as Karma has already said. We have just open the opportunity for non-member countries and also other organizations like ADB to join our ENS project last year. So I hope we can do some concrete ENS project like capacity building and data collection and so on. We would like to see further possibilities on those projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I think, as you say, there's looking like some great opportunities for collaboration, particularly through the EANet and some of the projects there, as we were discussing already yesterday. So I'd now like to turn to Jostein, and who's already contributed to one of the knowledge sharing events previously that we've mentioned under the preparatory phase. So the World Bank has supported countries all over the world in science-based air quality management. So we'd obviously welcome your perspective on some of the lessons you'd like to share with ADB as it begins to implement the Clean Blue Skies program, but also where you see there may be opportunities for collaboration between the two organizations under the program. So Jostein, over to you, and thank you for joining.
Yeah, and thank you for inviting us. And I can hear already from participating or listening in here that you are really dealing with the core air quality management issues also in the session that you just completed. So they're excellent. Now, I think that some of the experiences we have, if I should somehow go into 4 or 5 areas quickly, I think, first of all, when you use the concept of science-based air quality management, science-based, that's really the core. And I think that you're taking absolutely the right approach there, because what we have experienced is that the more knowledge, the more we understand the sources, the more we understand where the main contributors are, how we prioritize, which sectors should we focus on, which subsectors should we focus on, and so on, the more successful we are. When we reviewed all over air quality management related lending programs for a couple of years ago, over the last 15 years of implementation, we could clearly see that it was these projects that we had spent most time of doing science-based air quality management in the preparation of the projects that we really had high impact, where we had really achieved most improvements, let's say in PM concentration reduction in a given area. You could clearly correlate the time, the investment you do in science-based air quality management preparation, and the solidity and the good results of the program, particularly in examples like China, Mongolia, part of Vietnam, now increasingly in India and so on. We can clearly see these relations. So that brings me to the second point as a finance institution, as we both are, that it's sometimes tough to tell your senior management and to tell the board that you need time to do science-based air quality management in preparation of the lending program. But I think our experience is it's important to be honest, straightforward, and say, I need that time. If I need an extra year to get it right and I need to postpone the board submission with a year, do it. Because 5 years, 10 years later, you will see that the extra time and efforts you do at the preparation stage pays off in how much improvements you actually can achieve when you have the right interventions designed from the beginning. You can perhaps combine it by saying, okay, I do some low-hanging fruit, I do some actions in some sectors immediately to somehow calm down the pressure, but you cannot escape that need for doing really that thorough preparation. So that's really take your time and just stand up against the pressure. That's number one. Number two, the airshed concept came up here. And what we have experienced is that the sooner you work into airshed-based management, the more successful you will be. So we went through that process for a decade in China with city-focused air quality management. We went through now the same process in India. And it has been hard to get that mindset shift among our counterparts to shift from city to airshed. But it's worthwhile to go through, sorry to say, a little bit that painful process. You may fight this low, you may feel lonely in that process, but we can come together, some few partners, and continuously convince them. And now there is so much knowledge about how you delineate the airsheds, how you define the sources, not only in a city, but throughout a larger airshed geographic area. So you have now, I would say, and also to prioritize the intervention over a larger geographic scale. There's so much knowledge that is being generated now that I would say you also here have the scientific basis to do science-based airshed management that you can structure your lending program around. So that's the third point I have is really when you design the lending program, have a combination between selected sector interventions when you clearly define what the interventions in transport, in agriculture, in industry, in energy can contribute to the reduced pollution concentrations, okay? But combine this with a thorough investments in the air quality management infrastructure, which we really see as a combination of understanding the sources and also on the whole agenda of the ambient air quality. Combine this air quality management infrastructure investment and then the whole capacity building, both of the government partners, that is on the top, that has to be on the top of design and implementation, but also, and this is critical, the think tank or the research capacity that surround the government decision makers. We have learned that we as an outside bank, development organization, can come in and preach, what the right air quality management approach is, but it's first when the local think tanks, is giving the messages to our counterparts that we really get the big breakthrough. My final point is on the lending itself, that we have realized that when we have the so-called payment for results, so we pay out, we disperse the funding when you have performed. So we move basically from an investment-focused investment program to a results-based investment program. That has been to the point in assisting, helped so much countries like China, now increasingly India and other countries, in order to really support the progress towards achieving improved air quality. So when the countries and the regions and the provinces sets targets, okay, then we link the lending to achieving these targets or stage the achievement of the target, and then we disperse the resources. So we get this nice fit between them setting the targets and us dispersing funds when they actually are reaching these targets. So we find this payment for results as a very good instrument. So that was just some examples. I could go on and on with regard to our experiences and recommendations.
Thank you, Jostein. I mean, I think that's some really great lessons and pointers there. I'm pleased or sort of reassured that many of those we're trying to incorporate within the framework, and I think certainly a few of those points about the results-based are obviously how we then take this forward in implementation, I think are absolutely critical. And I'm hoping that with the emphasis on partnerships, we don't feel lonely, as you were saying. So I think that's very much key there. But no, thank you again for those lessons. Sorry, Jostein, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, I've forgotten to run on the prospects for collaboration. Can I just say that I see good potential for collaboration between us, both when it comes to somehow geographic divisions between us, in the whole Indo-Gangetic Plain, for example, from Punjab province throughout all the 7 states in India to Bangladesh, the largest, air pollution challenge we have today. So we as an institution, we cannot provide lending to all these 9-10 jurisdictions here. So I see good prospects for either a kind of division between us geographically, where perhaps you could pick up on some states, provinces, we could pick up some. Alternatively, a division between us on which sectors that we are focusing over a large geographic area. So I see either that geographic collaboration, sharing, or between sectors. Thank you. I just wanted to mention that. Great.
Thank you for picking that up. Actually, that's a good point, and I think it would be useful then to obviously have some further discussions as we progress. So, last but not least, I'd like to turn to Eric to hear your views on and initial impressions of the Clean Blue Sky programme, but also what potential opportunities you see for the programme to support developing cities and countries in Asia to achieve the co-benefits of clean air and climate action. So, Eric, over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me to comment, and I really applaud the efforts here by colleagues from ADB, from Clean Air Asia, from Ricardo, to launch this important initiative. I think we all recognize that the single best thing that we can do for environmental health is to reduce air pollution, and when we can bring climate finance toward that end, I think we're moving in a really good direction. I want to offer a few key points and suggestions as we move forward with this. The first one is, I think, reflects some of the points that have already been raised, that I think the nice thing about this program is it's really taking three elements that I see as essential to driving transformative change. First, you have some emphasis on demonstration projects. In our experience, working with colleagues in cities and countries, having some concrete project that demonstrates co-benefits on the ground is absolutely essential. So I think that's great. The second point is the policy change. So I think evidence-based policy change or science-based policy change is also essential. This is also critical to my third point, which is institutional change too. I think to get this to work the right way, you're going to need greater collaboration, especially between the air pollution and the climate change people within the relevant ministries. And I think by coupling these things, the projects, the policy changes, and the institutional change, you'll get a sort of a virtuous cycle of reforms that will be good for many of the cities that you guys are targeting. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. And then the second point I would like to raise in terms of sort of how do we move forward with this? I think the co-benefits idea is absolutely central, and I'm really glad to see colleagues emphasizing that. I would add two additional co's to this co-benefits idea. One of them is co-design, and I think this has been emphasized elsewhere by Josteen and Hadika and others. But really making sure that we engage local stakeholders in the design of these strategies, and also so that they can use the different types of tools to develop the emission inventories is critical. And secondly is co-innovation. And by co-innovation, I mean not only engaging in the tool development, but also thinking about how different technologies can be tailored to different operating contexts. So for instance, solar energy or PV might work differently in Vietnam than it works in Philippines. And if we think about this co-innovation process of this tailoring and mutual learning, I think that will actually ultimately help you deliver the co-benefits, which are some of the results that Josteen flagged as well. So co-innovation, co-design, and co-benefits. And then the few additional points I would like to emphasize is I'm really glad to see the emphasis on the air pollution and climate change benefits. I think it also would be quite useful if some of these interventions could also highlight some of the other quote unquote social co-benefits. So I know the ADB climate team is developing a tool to look at SDG benefits. And if some of the pilot projects can look at, for instance, the impacts on gender equity or job creation, I think that will make it even more appealing to different government officials in different ministries, and also help create some of that collaboration across the different agencies. So looking at a broader suite of SDG benefits, I think would be great. And a lot of times you can do that with the emission inventory and some formulas to look at some job creation, for instance. And then the last 2 points I would like to emphasize is we see real strong opportunities to collaborate on this initiative. We worked with Clean Air Asia colleagues from ACAP on this integrated better air quality program that has 18 different champion cities. And some of these cities, like for instance, Quezon and Santo, Quezon in the Philippines and Santo in Vietnam, participate in benefits projects to try to develop a pipeline of projects through some of those 18 different cities, I think would be really attractive for many of the stakeholders that are working on this, especially the Ministry of Environment Japan that is supporting the Integrated Better Air Quality Project. And then last but not least, in terms of EANet expansion, many of the work that's going on under JCM have to have significant reductions in carbon because it's a carbon-based mechanism or climate change-based mechanism, but there's some interventions that might not have significant impacts on CO2 necessarily, but might have impacts on black carbon. So for instance, in the transportation sector, inspection and maintenance programs are really, really important. Also monitoring of air pollutants are really, really important. And the expansion of EANet might open opportunities to target some of these. They're sort of lower hanging fruits in terms of air pollution, but not necessarily have huge climate impacts. So thinking about JCM for climate change and co-benefits and EANet for more air pollution type interventions, if that can be strategized, I think that would be a really nice way to bring some additional resources to this program and give it sort of a two-pronged focus in some ways to target both of the sort of key opportunities for air pollution in some cases, climate change as well. Thank you so much, and we look forward to learning more from you as we move forward.
Thank you, Eric. I think that's some really, really good points there. And I think certainly the co-benefits, co-design and co-innovation, I think I'll have to be reusing that, because I think that is certainly exactly what we're trying to achieve here. And I think some of the institutional points as well around how we actually ensure that that happens is absolutely vital. So that closes our panel discussion for today. I'd just like to thank all of our panelists. It's been incredibly valuable, I think, to get your feedback on the program, but also to understand much more about some of the synergies and opportunities for collaboration as we go forward. So with that,